voters I've spoken to in Wisconsin and Michigan in particular to have been arrogant, that she took for granted their votes, that she assumed after decades of appeal in the unions that would be enough. But this was a changed America where people were concerned about their economic futures, where they wanted to see a revival financially in their communities. And lots of these communities, their kind of life and heart has been sucked out by the decline of industry. Now, Donald Trump was able to deliver a message that he would revive those industries, that people would see financial buoyancy. And we know that there are many voters that remain convinced he can do those things. But critically, Joe Biden made a change with white voters in these states and white college-educated voters, particularly in the suburbs. I don't think anyone views him as having the panacea, you know, the all-time solution for America financially going forward, but they believe sufficiently that he could be a good caretaker of the economy, and that change really happened in the past couple of months. Donald Trump's appeal started to...
Okay, and worth noting, perhaps he's first president for a while who didn't go to a posh Ivy League college.
That's right.
Either. Well, let's go down to Sky's Kay Burley, who's also here in Washington, D.C., as Kay party gets underway.
Yeah, Adam, hello. My goodness me, we heard the news around about 20 minutes or so ago. We were at the Washington Memorial just behind me. There you go, as you can see, writing a piece for online when the alert came up on Sky News. We tweeted it, and then you could hear, almost feel the ripple as it went along the Mall. We are about, I don't know, 2 or 3 kilometres that way is the Capitol building, and just where you are is where the White House is. This is where a lot of I would say tourists congregate, but also a lot of local people as well. And as they started to hear the news, you could hear the cheers, you could hear the horns honking. I managed to stop a young lady called Gillian who was on her bike. I told her the news. She's very tearful. She rang her husband. He was very pleased. And then we managed to have a quick chat with her. I'm sure we'll play that in just a short time. But yeah, it's taken a long time, hasn't it? As Cordy was saying, 4 days of counting. But finally, he won in the Rust Belt of Pennsylvania, where Hillary Clinton lost so dramatically 4 years ago. We're going to head over to the White House very shortly and see how the celebrations are going there. As you will know, Adam, and Cordy knows as well, living here, there's a lot of the property here that have been boarded up for fear of demonstrations. I think that was potentially in case President Trump had another 4 years. That hasn't been the case within the last few moments. It has been announced that it will be President-elect Biden. Whether they'll still need to keep the boarding up for a while longer, I'm not sure. But certainly the mood here at the moment, let me just show you around. If you go that way, that is where the Lincoln Memorial is behind us. Just here, there you go, is the Washington Monument, and then Capitol Hill is behind us. We'll walk over towards the White House very shortly indeed, and just see what the people of Washington think of the news that they have a 46th president inaugurated on the 20th of January next year.
Kay Burley, more from you in a moment. Let's go now to Wilmington, Delaware, the headquarters of the Joe Biden campaign, now the headquarters for the president-elect. Greg Milam is there, and I imagine celebrations are underway there too.
Yeah, one of the campaign team said they had no words, just emotion at that moment, that the call was made in favour of the man they've been working for so long. And we're hearing a lot of horns honking. I've got to say the nature of presidential Secret Service protection means that no members of the public are anywhere near this stage, but we can hear people arriving in large numbers, the horns honking, the cheers, as you're seeing in Washington, as they're seeing around the country amongst fans of Joe Biden. Kamala Harris has tweeted as well, saying this election is about so much more than Joe Biden and me. It's about the soul of America and our willingness to fight for it. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us. Let's get started. And I think we saw that in that appearance that she made alongside Joe Biden when he was speaking inside here last night. Not the victory address that they were hoping for yesterday. They'll do that tonight. But a sense that they were already getting down to work and what work was ahead of them, in particular on the pandemic, but also on the economy and things like climate change and things they've talked about on the campaign trail. They were projecting the impression yesterday, the day before, that already that was a team that the president and vice president in waiting, that they were ready to get going. They weren't waiting for a concession that probably won't come from Donald Trump It was more about the next chapter for America and the Biden-Harris era rather than the Trump era. So I think we will hear more of that when they do speak tonight. I think we can expect fireworks, literally fireworks, to celebrate this change of administration that is coming. And I think that as an aside, the people of Delaware, who have never sent a president to the White House, a celebration that the man who's called this place home for so long is finally victorious. I think he is someone who's, as you've been talking about, traded on his roots here in the heartland of the East Coast and the Rust Belt. And a significant moment for him, a very significant moment for Kamala Harris. I think when you look at the reasons people were voting in this race, and you look particularly in somewhere like California, where Kamala Harris is the senator, has built her career, the significance of the first woman of colour being on the ticket was massive. The significance of putting a woman at the top of the executive was enormous. And I think for a lot of people, the 75+ million who voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, a lot of that celebration will be focused on that, what it says about the changing face of America that is reflected in any election, but what it says about where this country is going and the message it sends to a lot more people now about the presidential and vice presidential ticket.
Greg, as you say, Secret Service perhaps dampening celebrations immediately where you are. We know the Secret Service actually shut down the airspace around the candidate some 24 hours or so ago, so they obviously had a shrewd idea which way this was going to go. But what we can show you are these pictures of spontaneous celebrations on the right of your screen in New York City and on the left here in Washington, D.C. Very happy crowds gathering. And we've also managed to speak to some of them, get their reaction to the announcement that Joe Biden is the next president of the United States.
We're so excited, America spoke, we won.
Every vote counted. We believed in our hearts that Biden was best for the United States.
Yes. And we made history, Kamala, yes.
Just overjoyed. I can't say, I don't even have the words. I'm just happy.
Well, two happy ladies there. Our US correspondent Cordelia Lynch is here, and also now the floodgates have opened. We're beginning to get official responses to this decision by the networks to call it for Joe Biden.
That's right. I'm just going to share with you a statement from the most senior Democrat in the House, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. And in it, she is really harking the dawn of a new era. She says, a record-shattering day of hope for America. 75 million Americans cast their ballots to elect Joe Biden. She says a historic victory that was handed Democrats a mandate for action. In President-elect Joe Biden, she said, Americans elected a leader ready on day one to finally begin to crush the coronavirus so we can safely reopen our economy and schools. In President-elect Biden, Nancy Pelosi says the American people delivered a mandate for lower health costs, a mandate for creating bigger paychecks by rebuilding America's infrastructure, and a mandate for cleaner government that works for the public interest, not the special interests. And in President-elect Biden, she says they have elected a unifier who values faith, family, and community, and who will work tirelessly to heal our nation. And she ends by saying President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris won with a strong margin, and then we'll have a strong Democratic House majority by their side. Working together, we have the opportunity to deliver extraordinary progress for the people. So a great deal of optimism from the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, a woman whose political deftness and skill will be really put to the test in the upcoming months and years. It must be noted, though, despite her optimism about the mandate that Joe Biden has, they did lose some seats in the House, and so they don't have the same degree of power. It wasn't quite the result that they wanted. We also need to talk too about the Senate. You know, this is a historic number of votes that Joe Biden secured. But here in America, especially given how polarized everything is, getting control of the Senate is considered a critically important thing politically, because if you want to pass legislation on healthcare, on coronavirus, then you need the help of the Senate to do that. And at the moment, it looks like it actually might go to a toss-up in 2 races in Georgia, which of course is another race we're watching very closely, has had very tight margins, reliably Republican for decades. There is a possibility it might flip blue. So that hangs in the balance. And, you know, bipartisan Joe, Uncle Joe as he's often known, Amtrak Joe, this kind of middling man who's often been credited with reaching out, extending olive branches at critical times. Well, he'll have to try and manifest those abilities in trying times, a very different climate. We have seen Republicans and Democrats at loggerheads now for 4 years. It's felt like this kind of interminable conflict. Is America willing, collectively, are the 2 parties able to work together? That is the question. Otherwise, they could face 4 years of political paralysis.
Okay, well, what we're seeing there, Cordelia, is celebrations in New York City and in Washington, D.C., both areas which voted very heavily for Joe Biden, so the majority of the population likely to have a lot to celebrate, and I imagine those celebrations are going to just build up momentum throughout the day towards the moment where the president-elect we're expecting is going to address the nation after dark on primetime television. Greg Milam telling us that they've got a firework display planned. You may remember, somewhat presumptuously, Donald Trump had a firework display at the end of the Republican virtual convention where, breaking all precedent, he used the White House as his base for quite a lot of that. Well, this is going to be in Wilmington, Delaware. We'll bring you coverage of that. But another place where celebrations are getting underway is Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And to use crude British tabloidese, it was Philadelphia what won it for Joe Biden, if I could put it quite like that. And Sky's Sally Lockwood is there, and she can tell us more. Sally.
Yeah, hello Adam, and don't we know it? It's really fallen into a really celebratory mood here, very different from the one we saw yesterday. We widely predicted that Pennsylvania would be the tipping state in this election. Whoever took Pennsylvania would likely take the White House, and certainly as Pennsylvania tipped blue and Joe Biden was confirmed to have taken Pennsylvania, the celebrations have erupted here. Let me just show you. This is the square in the centre of the city. It's now filling with people. People who drive past are beeping their horns and people cheer and clap. As you can see now, it's got a real celebratory, almost a festival type atmosphere here. Now we were expecting around 10,000 people here today anyway. They were planning to take part in a march to protest for every vote to be counted, because of course there was a lot of concern about the legal challenges with postal votes being challenged by the Trump campaign. But instead this rally has turned into a bit of a party here, and the square where we are at the moment is filling up. Let's speak to a few people. Hello. This is Beverly and Napoleon and their grandchildren. Can I just ask you how you're feeling hearing this news now?
I am very relieved. We worked very hard to pull this out. I was on PO for 32 BJ. We knocked on doors. We made all kind of phone calls. We fought hard to get Biden in office, and we won. It's a great relief.
Why is it a relief? Tell me.
Because we want to make sure he stays accountable for the things that he promised for the people. Making sure everything stays fair, and we're going to make sure that we keep all the politicians accountable for the things like hazardous pay that they fought for us, because I was an essential worker.
And obviously your grandchildren, your granddaughters here look too young to vote, but no doubt a moment that you will remember as well. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling excited, happy, good.
Why is that?
Because all these, like, for years, Donald Trump, he was ruining, like, everybody and killing everybody with the coronavirus. And now we finally got a president that actually cares about us. And, y'all just so happy to, like, Black Lives Matter. And, yeah.
And of course, it's not just Joe Biden that's won today. There's Kamala Harris who's won as well. What do you know about Kamala Harris?
Isn't that Joe Biden's wife? And didn't she run for president?
She's gonna be vice president.
Or vice?
Yeah, she's his running mate.
Yeah, she helped him, right?
Did she help him? Thank you so much, Napoleon. Just a thought from you as well. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. It's a democracy. This is what America looks like, and this is what we needed to do. Count each vote, and this is what we did.
Now, Pennsylvania is a very divided state. There's still a lot of support for Donald Trump here. And he still has a lot of support around the country.
Yeah.
How do you think America can come together now?
Because we have to. They see the rhetoric that was going on, and now we have to come together as black, white, brown, Asian, everybody needs to come together and to let this country don't be divided.
And do you see that happening? There were a lot of protesters here.
Yes, we see that. No, look at us now. If you look around right now, this is what you see. All nationalities. And you here. So this is great.
Yes, we are. We're here
Okay.
too. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Now, there were a lot of protesters here yesterday. Donald Trump, of course, has immense support still in America. And he, of course, continues to peddle that narrative that this election has been stolen from him. So there is concern that also there will be a presence here today of people that are unhappy. And the police are prepared for that. There's a strong police presence here in Philadelphia itself. At the moment, there doesn't look to be any sign of any trouble or any conflict among people here. Definitely, at the moment, just signs of immense celebration here in Philadelphia.
Well, very exciting scenes there in Philadelphia, also getting underway here. Let's just remind ourselves of how Joe Biden has become the next president of the United States. He did it by taking the state of Pennsylvania with 20 electoral votes, which took his total to 273, more than half of the votes in the Electoral College, which will meet in the second week of December to confirm the result of this election. Worth noting that in the statement put out by the White House, Mr. Trump made the claim that the election has not been certified. He's absolutely right on that. Actually, when states are counting, it's quite a long way after they've counted that they formally certify the election results, precisely because of the sort of issues and legal challenges which we're seeing the Trump campaign bringing. And then the election result, the winner, is not certified until the Electoral College meets formally, which takes place, as I say, in the second week of December. And then there is a further month's delay until the 20th of January next year, 2021, the date on which, according to the US Constitution, the new president is inaugurated in the steps of the Congress building behind me at the moment. They are actually building the stage for that inauguration at the moment. They have to start in September, so everything is in place. But strangely enough, because of Joe Biden, because of the concern which he's expressed about coronavirus, a lot of people wondering whether it will be the traditional inauguration ceremony that we've seen in Washington, D.C. with the Mall, where Kay Burley was reporting from, full up of people at a time of this outbreak. Is it the right way to go ahead with an inauguration? We will have to wait and see. I did think one thing was interesting, though, looking at those crowds in New York and Washington, D.C. They are supporters of Joe Biden. They are Democrats. And Cordelia Lynch, guess what? As far as I can tell, they were all wearing masks.
Yeah, look, the mask has become a potent political symbol amidst all the rancor and division on coronavirus. Depending on where you travel in the United States and the political colour of the places, has a big impact on whether or not people wear masks. And what Joe Biden has always pushed for is for everyone to wear them. They believe that that would be critical in bringing down the numbers, which continue to surge going into the final closing stages of this race. You'll recall the multiple rallies that Donald Trump held just as the pandemic continued to surge in those critical states. Now, lots of people kind of aghast, watching on. There's a lot of speculation about whether or not that would hinder him, or indeed if it was an illustration of his kind of continued appeal and the devil-may-care attitude of his supporters. I think in a country that is, of course, federal, where a lot of people have strong individual political identities, there's a portion of the country that don't like being told what to do. And I think that's what we have seen. But they now have, Democrats, a mandate of changing things up. That Donald Trump was at war with his own scientists. Joe Biden has been very deferential when discussing the likes of Dr. Fauci, of course, who has been a central member, and Dr. Deborah Birx, of the coronavirus task force team. I mean, as a telling finale to this race, Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, contracted coronavirus. That broke late last night. He was there on election night, surrounded by many other members of staff within the White House, a lot of them not wearing masks. There were times when he was with reporters on Capitol Hill when he refused to wear his mask. That caused a lot of controversy. And so we were told going into this it mattered to voters. I spoke to countless voters in multiple states. Depending on where they sat on the debate, they all thought, you know, it was an issue, whether they didn't like what the president did or indeed they, you know, fully supported him.
Well, I think we can safely assume that Dr. Anthony Fauci won't now be fired, as
Yes.
Donald Trump was telling his crowds he planned to do in the last day of the campaign, even although actually technically the president doesn't have the power to fire someone holding the post of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, we've seen the mood in New York, we've seen the mood in Washington, D.C. What about in Georgia, where last time I looked in the count, still underway, Mr. Biden was narrowly ahead, but it was extremely close. Alex Crawford now joins us from Atlanta. Alex.
Hi, good afternoon, Adam. Very noisy here because what was a gathering of people who are going to emphasise how every vote needs to be counted and how black and people of colour need to be more empowered in particularly this state. It's turned into a kind of victory celebration gathering. A lot of these people have spent the past few years making sure that their votes have counted, getting people out to vote in this very, very close contest here, which is still too close to call. One of the people who is instrumental behind that is this woman, Toni Watkins, who's been running an organisation, one of the projects who's trying to get the black vote out and everyone out voting. Yeah. How do you feel, first of all, Toni?
Yeah, at New Georgia Project and the New Georgia Project Action Fund, we're so excited. I can't even get it out. We have worked so hard for so many years, and we have we flipped the presidency. We know that we can flip the Senate, and we have so much work to do. So we're excited, but we're energized for the next 8 weeks because we know it's going to be crazy, and we're here for it.
It's still very close to call here in Georgia. How do you feel about that? I mean, they still, although Joe Biden presidential, the Democrats are ahead, it's still too close.
I can tell you in Georgia, we feel responsible for this. We feel like we made the difference because whether they say that it's too close to call or not, we know that the margin of error, we've passed it. We are past that point, so you can do the recount. It doesn't matter. With the numbers that we have, they are what they are. Joe Biden won in Georgia. We flipped the state blue. We changed history, and now we're going to change the history of the country.
It's quite a dramatic turnaround, isn't it? After 28 years of this being a Republican stronghold, what did it? What happened? What was the change, do you think?
So, it looks like it happened overnight, but we have been out here doing this work for 4, 6, 8, 12 years. We have put in the hours, we've knocked on doors, but I think between COVID and seeing the world erupt over being tired of black people dying, we knew that we had to come out and show out. And that's what we did. So black people have been voting, But we did show up in record numbers, and so did everybody else, because we are different. We are changing as a people and a culture, and it's time that our government represents that.
There was lots of claims of voter suppression. Do you think that was a thing?
Oh yes, we had to fight with polls being closed the day of. We're fighting with machines that are not working, with voting precincts that don't have power outlets. You cannot tell us in Georgia that voter suppression was not a thing, but we knew that it was coming. We prepared for it, and we showed out anyway.
Tony Watkins, thank you very much. We'll talk to you later on in the day. Come this way. I want to talk to a few other people because the park is filling with more and more people. Let's see what some of the others think about it. Hi guys, we're from British Television, Sky News UK. You're on live now. How do you feel about the declaration, the result, President-elect Joe Biden?
We are grateful. We are happy about everything. And we thank the Creator for everything. Like, this was a long-awaited day. And I think we're just overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, yeah.
Yes.
It's been 4 days in the counting. Georgia's still too close to call. What was the voting like for you guys? How did you find it when you were casting your ballot?
We did early voting and it was easy. So I'm really grateful we had a long early voting period. So
I saw lots of lines though when I was watching the voting. 11 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours. What did you make of all of that?
I didn't have that experience. I didn't go on the first day. So yeah, I can't comment because I didn't see it.
How much of a turnaround is it here in Georgia, do you think?
For voting?
The fact that it's so close after 28 years, it's actually on the cusp of being a big flip.
Well, we haven't flipped yet, so I'm cautiously optimistic, and we have a huge 2 runoffs coming. So yeah, I was telling her I have so much work to do that I'm having trouble feeling excited, but I am cautiously optimistic.
And how about the way the president has behaved up until now?
Oh yeah, terrifying. I mean, such a good reason to vote the way I did. So, yeah, I really feel that today's a wonderful day, but also we have a lot of work to do about for the next 3 months. Yeah. So
thank you for talking to us. I don't know whether you're still in the market of hearing any more people. We can try and talk to some of the young people who've been the ones who are instrumental in switching the vote. Let's have a chat to these guys here. Hi there, sorry to barge in on you. From British Television, Sky News UK, we're on live. Tell me, how much of a dramatic change has it been in Georgia after 28 years on the cusp of changing to Democrat? Joe Biden, now president-elect, how are you feeling?
I mean, I feel great. I feel like this has been decades in the making. Stacey Abrams is the one to credit. She's done so much work.
Stacey Abrams is the person who ran in 2018 for governor and lost out very closely.
Very, very closely, and I don't know if she actually truly lost. I think the election was a little bit stolen. It's relatively mainstream, opinion. But we're also happy. It's about time, And the South is where there's so much power towards changing the vote, and it's just incredible. So everyone's very happy.
There's a few Trump supporters outside State Farm Arena who are still declaring that the vote has been stolen, that the election has been stolen.
I just, every 4 years a president is voted out and a new president comes in. And so this is no different. And the people have spoken, and unfortunately it's a little closer than we'd all like, but the people have spoken, and it's a normal thing that happens every 4 years. So I'm not sure why they think that this shouldn't happen.
Thank you for talking to us. Thank you. Shall we carry on and give you some more opinions? Hi there, sorry to interrupt, from Sky News UK in Britain. This is live on going throughout Europe and the world. Tell me your reaction to President-elect Joe Biden being declared.
Oh, I'm ecstatic. It's good. Maybe people will start being kinder to each other.
What was the reason why you think it clinched it here in Georgia? Because the state has been 28 years in different hands.
The demographics have changed a lot. I've been here all my life, and it's not the state it used to be. And I think a lot of younger voters are getting involved. A lot of young people are getting involved, and people started paying attention.
What is the one thing you want to see happen from this day forward? What's the most important thing to you as an American, as a Georgian?
Well, first of all, that we're decent to each other, and then we do something about COVID, and we take care of the people who need taken care of. That's more than one thing.
Was that what swung it for you, the coronavirus?
It wasn't a lot to swing. It wasn't a lot to swing for me. I never was a fan. So,
what was it that sealed it for you? The way he dealt with coronavirus, the way Donald Trump handled the voting process, his comments afterwards, what was it?
He handled all of it, and he lies all the time, and he wanted to be president, he just didn't want to do the job. He didn't want to do the job, he wanted accolades, he wanted all the special treatment, you know, all the glory, but he didn't want to do the work. He didn't have the heart for it, quite simply.
Has it left the country and Georgia horribly divided?
God, yes. God, yes. I see it everywhere. In my family, we don't talk about this stuff. So, and I think our family would be divided because you just don't, because it's very personal for everybody. They feel like if you disagree with them, it's a personal affront. And that's too bad, because it's not.
Can these wounds heal, do you think? Going to take some time, maybe?
It's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time. So.
Well, thank you for talking to us. Thank you very much. Let's take you further up near the stage and see what people up there are thinking. They've turned the music off for a little bit, so we might be able to hear what's going on.
So we're about to get the show started. Are y'all excited? Are y'all happy to be from the South? Are y'all proud to let folks know that the South got something to say?
Look at all these people who've gathered now.
I need everybody really quickly to look to your right. We got a whole bus out here of folks coming to join us. I want us to be so loud to cheer them on as they come up. Can we get that? These folks are coming all the way down from Columbus, Georgia. I need us to cheer them up real quick as they come and join us today. Yes. Yes. Hey, y'all.
Well, celebrations there in Georgia. Thanks to Alex Crawford for bringing us that. We've also seen celebrations, of course, in Washington, D.C. and in New York. And I imagine the Democrats are probably celebrating around the nation. And just have these pictures in of the new Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris, getting the news.